Hey guys, how's it going? Quarterman here. In today's video, we're going to be installing, yep, there it is, the Baja design lights with the KR off-road brackets. So the guys over at 4x4truckleds.com sent me their brackets to check out and kind of give a installation and review of how they work. So let's get right into it. All right, well, here's the kit as it comes from 4x4truckleds.com. We have our Baja design lights. We have obviously our instructions. This is an additional plate so that you can make it more flush. I'll get into that in just a second. And here we have our KR off-road bracket mount. And let me go ahead and pull this out. So you can see the quality of this. This is stainless steel, and it's actually made here in the USA in Long Island, New York by the KR off-road team. And this thing is beefy. You probably saw the level of quality that was on my license plate frame, or license plate bracket rather. And this is just next level. So I'm super excited to get these installed. Of course, the kit comes with two because we have obviously, lights for either side. And then of course the meat, we have the wiring harness, which I'm gonna get into. And the cool thing about this kit is everything is plug and play. So you don't have to do any massive installation. Honestly, some basic hand tools. All right, so for this installation, you're really gonna need a couple of tools. I'm gonna need some sort of a pair of pliers, cutters to cut the wires in the for the upfitter switches, some sort of a knife to open packaging, wire strippers and cutters. You're going to need a, what is this one? This is a 3/4, and you're also going to need a 5/16. You're gonna need a 3/4 wrench, a socket, and Allens to work with the lights on the Baja design kit so you can attach them to the brackets. And then lastly, a impact driver with a T40 plus. Make sure that that's a plus, not the T40, otherwise you'll strip bolts. All right, so I have everything else out of the box. Most important part is obviously the lights. I went with the Baja design. You can also use diode dynamics with these brackets. So if you depending on which way you want to go, I just went with this because it matches my pillar lights. So what I went with here is the S2 Sport. So that's a pair. I went with the S2 Sport wide cornering amber, and I went with the Squadron wide cornering. The reason for this is I wanted to have a mixture of on-road and off-road abilities. Believe it or not, you're not supposed to use these things on-road rather. So obviously check your local laws as far as what you should be able to do. Basically you have, each of our kits. May have seen this before when I did the pillar, but Baja Designs packages these nice. And so here we have one of the sets of lights, and we have another light in here. So let's go ahead and start with the installation. All right, first step is to go ahead and grab your Baja design light. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna end up installing the bracket that comes with that kit. First step is to grab the bolt, grab a washer, put the bolt and washer through, grab another washer and grab the nut, and you wanna just loosely put this on. You obviously don't wanna over tighten this because you wanna be able to put it on the vehicle, or in this case, on the mount first. Then what you wanna do is you wanna go ahead and grab what is, I believe, a crush washer and the bracket. And go ahead and start this by hand because you do not want to be stripping any threads, as we know. Okay, go ahead and snug up on these to make sure that they're nice and tight. You don't have to worry too much about the alignment side of things because you can move things around before you get them on the bracket. So that's one. I'm going to go ahead and do the second one and jump ahead so you don't have to watch me screw in a bunch of bolts. All right, so next step is to grab our KR off-road bracket. And pro tip for installation, hang this off the edge of your table if you can, because what this is actually going to allow you to do is to get the alignment here much better than trying to just do it in your hand. However, with this one, we're going to want to end up using that spacer because I'm doing the Baja designs. I'm just going to move over a little bit and kind of just hold this in my chest so it doesn't fall off and crash to the ground. All right, so you can see how with the spacer, how this aligns up nice and good. But however, before you put this locking nut on, highly recommend, because this is stainless and we wanna make sure that this doesn't bind up, is to go ahead and grab some anti-seize. So that's what we're gonna go ahead and do, and put it on the bolt before we put on the nut. All right, so go ahead and grab your anti-seize and go ahead and just put a little bit on this bolt. All right, and then just kind of work this into the bolt just a little bit. Make sure that it gets in those threads, and then you can put the nut on. Sorry, it's a little dark here because I'm kind of working in a shadow. But what you want to do is you want to go ahead and grab an open wrench and a socket, or you could use 2 wrenches, and you want to go ahead and snug this down as this is the final fitment. Okay, so I highly recommend using 2 wrenches. However, my wrenches happen to be at another location, so I'm working with what I have. All right, so I'm doing the Squadron LED cornering on this side. I'm gonna do the other white one, the wide cornering on this one, and I'm gonna do the yellow, we'll call it fog, at the far end. I think that'll be a nice balance. You can also do, you honestly could do whatever, you know, setup you want. I think it's gonna be the same for the diode dynamics, but go ahead and contact 4x4truckleds.com and obviously get your kit set up the way you want it. So I'm gonna go ahead and add the other 2 lights. No sense sticking around for that. I'm gonna do the exact same process. Make sure you put that anti-seize on the bolt and you should have the bracket all built. So I'll be back to you in just a minute. Can I do it for you?
Mm-hmm. Show some tattoos and we have game.
This is definitely staying in the video. Apparently I'm getting tattoos. All right, there's that one all installed, and that gives us all 3. So that's how I'm gonna have it set up. The big one here, the driving, and then the fog right there. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and repeat that on the other bracket. So I'm gonna, with the magic of editing once again, jump ahead, do all that, and then we'll be ready to install everything. All right, now that we have all 3 lights set up, the next step is, of course, to install it in the vehicle. However, I wanted to quickly go over the harness while we're inside. And as you can see, it is nighttime. So I'll be installing these in the morning. So we have here the wiring harness, and if you had a diode dynamics, you would actually have 4 leads for a backlight, but in this case we don't. So you'll see that these are labeled A, B, and C, and then if I go ahead and pull this side out, you'll see A, B, and C. And then lastly, this is the side that actually is going to the vehicle. So we have our A, our B, and C, and then we have our ground, which of course I'll go into detail when we do the installation. So this is gonna take 3 upfitter switches. I guess technically you could probably wire them together, although I'm not sure if the amperage would be correct. In this case, I'm using 3 upfitter switches. I have no issue with that. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm going to make A be the outside, the largest one. I'll do it like this. So I'm gonna have A be the largest one. I'm not gonna attach this. I'm gonna have B be the inner one, which will be right here. And then last but not least, I think you can see how this is going. I'm gonna have C be my fogs. So C for fogs. It's pretty much the extent of the installation in the house or in your office, garage, hotel, wherever the heck you have to be installing this. So what I'm gonna do is grab this stuff, grab the other bracket, and head outside as soon as the sun comes up. All right, day 2 of the installation, although this would probably be a 1-day thing for you guys. I'm now at the vehicle. And first step you want to do is turn the wheel so that you have nice clearance. Step is to grab an impact driver and a Torx 40 plus. Make sure that you use the plus, otherwise you're going to strip these bolts. So there's going to be 3 bolts under here. There's one right here, here, and here. You're going to take those off, and that's what the light's going to attach to. So take a little bit of wiggling to get these in. But put them on a 45 and you should be in good shape. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and start this bolt by hand. All right, and just like that, with the magic of editing, we have our passenger side lights on. So next step is to go ahead and grab the wiring harness and start hooking this stuff up. All right, so now we're down here with the vehicle. You wanna go ahead and slide this across the skid plate, and if you put it right here, there's actually a bracket you'll be able to zip tie. So it's like Ford made this for you. All right, so I'll go ahead and obviously fish that more, but what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna hook up these lights, and like I mentioned inside, I'm gonna put the A is going to be the larger one, B and C. Just grab this on the side and press down until it locks. Make sure it's going to the right light, otherwise you'll be inside the vehicle hitting switches and not getting the lights you want. All right, so this light is all wired up. We're gonna go ahead and go over to the passenger side, and let me see if you can see the wiring harness. Not sure if you're gonna be able to or not. You cannot. Yeah, you can kind of see it up in the top right. So I'm gonna go ahead and fish that through and then zip tie it. So So I'm gonna go ahead and run this up, and I think the best way to do it is probably gonna be right inside that area there. You can see, I'll highlight it, but that's the engine bay, so that should be easy enough to get into. So the biggest thing about fishing this into the engine bay is when you're doing your final run, make sure that you're not putting it near anything that moves, like fans, pulleys, things like that. Because the last thing you want to do is turn on your Bronco and sever the wire. All right, so I have the wire pulled up into the engine bay, and honestly, there is no exact method to do this. You just want to make sure that it's not near any moving parts like fans, pulleys, belts, things like that. If you see here, I just have it coming up between these two hard lines, or actually, it's not a hard line, but this is a hard line. These lines right here coming straight up. I have all the excess right here. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna get it away from here, and I'm basically going to follow the natural routing of this wire here, because you'll see it goes right around, right to where I need. All right, now that it's right here, we're gonna go ahead and connect these. So we're gonna basically end up using 3 upfitter switches like I mentioned, and then a ground. So 4x4truckleds.com actually ended up giving you a nice little printout to follow along. And more importantly, they actually ended up writing out the switch, the max amperage, and then the wire color. So for my pod lights, I have it on 2. I'm keeping 3 free because it's a 30 amp max, and you'd want to do that for like a winch or a compressor or something like that. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to end up using the 3, 4, and 5, and then I'll just leave 6 for future use. So that's going to be my violet green, my brown, and my blue orange. All right, so go ahead and grab your wire cutters, strippers, crimpers, whatever you want to use. And the first thing you want to do is you want to cut off the end here on, we're going to start with the violet green. And when you're cutting this, you want to cut off exactly at the cap, otherwise you're going to end up having a really short amount of wire. All right, so quick pro tip here: if you feel like the wire here is not working for you, it's taped right here, but once you take off those end caps, you can actually just pull the wire back through this tape. There's nothing in this general area that it's going to get caught on. You also, once you're done, you could zip tie it back up here. It just makes it a little bit easier to work with. So this is 20 to 22 gauge wire. I'm guessing it's probably 22, but at any rate, you want to make sure that you give enough on the wire strip so that you're going to be able to attach it into the terminal. And then this is, what is it? I think it's called stranded wire. It's not solid core. So go ahead and just twist it. This is just going to make it easier to fit inside of the connector. All right, just to recap, we have violet green for 3, brown for 4, and blue orange for 5. So 3, 4, and 5. All right, next step is to go ahead and take your A, which is going to be your first lights, and that's going to go to your violet green. And it's a good idea to keep this sheet just because, well, you might not remember the order. Okay, so that's in there now. Then you want to head and grab your crimper and want to crimp this down. And if you do this more than once, buy a better set of crimpers because these things are horrible. All right, so now that all 3 of these are all wired up, you want to go ahead and throw some electrical tape on them, zip tie them. All right, so the next step is to hook up our ground. I'm going to put it right here, and this is a 5/16, so go ahead and grab your 5/16 socket and go ahead and just back this off. Go ahead and put that on your ground, and make sure that this previous ground from the car is still there, and tighten it down. Obviously start with the hand and then grab your socket again and drive it down. And believe it or not, you are done in the engine bay, with the exception of course dressing this up, but I'll leave that to you for how you want to run this. You may not have these wires here like I do for the pods, so just make sure that this is secured and not running near any of this stuff. All right, so now they're all wired up, and let's see if they work. Moment of truth. All right, so go ahead and throw your vehicle and accessory, and let's hit switch 3, hit switch 4, and hit switch 5. All of them?
Yep.
Sweet, and then let's just throw in the pillars for fun. All right, so apologies for the wind, it just got super windy, but you'll see here that they're all set up and they're the way that they should be. Now, right now I have all pointing forward. Those cornering you probably would want pointing off to the side, obviously, so you can see your track. Maybe point one of them kind of down. You can kind of set this up however you want, based on what you purchase and what your preferences are. So I'm guessing most people would be able to actually test this at their home. However, you probably saw that the Mustang project is in front of my garage and I do not have a white wall. So what you want to do to make sure that your beam is correct is you want to put it up against a white wall. I'm going to give some night shots as well, but this very clearly shows the drop off as well as the highest point, which you can see over here, is actually the headlights of the Bronco. So obviously just use your garage door if you have one. If not, find a flat white wall or some sort of a light color that you can work with to make sure that your lights are aligned the way that you want them. All right, so here I am in the vehicle just after dusk a little bit, and I'm gonna basically turn on each switch from 3 to 5 and call out which one it is. I did shut off the Bronco's headlights to really show how bright these lights are. So here's 3. Already you can see that lights up the ground so much better than the headlights do. That's a huge improvement. 4 gets me some more in the corner. And then obviously 5 is gonna just kind of add yellow to it. Like I said, you need to point these where you want them for it to be truly effective. But I'm gonna go ahead and grab some outside footage of what they look like just now. All right, so here's how the lights look outside. I'm gonna head and kind of come down this hill a little bit, get blinded a lot. Not really sure how effective this is gonna be. You'll see that the yellow pretty closely matches the Bronco logo, or the kind of the accents of the side lights. It's a slightly different yellow, but honestly, it's definitely not a deal breaker. Well, 4x4truckleds.com has already built in a nice discount as part of this kit. They're actually going to extend an additional 5% off to my viewers if you use the coupon code CODER5. You've seen the installation, you've seen the product. I think you can kind of see for yourself that this is an awesome bracket, and it makes it look like it's OEM, which is something I always strive for. All right, so a little bonus footage here for those who stuck around. I'm gonna go ahead and flip the 3 lights on, and I'm essentially on a road simulating a little drive here. So I'm just gonna kind of drive around here. Got the headlights on as well, but you saw when I flipped them on, you can immediately see a difference in how well I can see. The ground's lit up a lot better, and everything is just a lot, a lot easier to see. So I'll do a quick comparison here. Get away from these building lights here. Let me go over here again. Nice and dark here, actually. So right here, go ahead and shut them off. You'll see just the headlights. You can see the fall off. I mean, I basically don't have anything on the ground. And now if I turn this on, I can see the sides. You can see that truck got lit up. Here, I can now see that bush in the front. And then again, like I said, the yellows in this case aren't going to be super effective just because they're not as bright. I mean, if I just put them on, you just get a little yellow tint, but you wouldn't be running those by themselves usually. And then those who know my pillar lights, that's what that lights up. Then we got our sides, we got our distance, and then our yellow just for good measure. So you can see how, these different lights, you layer them up, you get some really good driving. If I was on a trail right now, I would have no worries being able to see in front of me. And honestly, with this vehicle being lifted, again, I'll shut them off. You can see how you don't get to see too far in front of you because your headlights obviously are up higher and the ground's not visible. So go ahead and flip these 2 on. Nope, not that one. These 2 on, ground's nice and lit up. So hopefully this helped you guys kind of see firsthand how this stuff looks. And if it's something that you are interested in purchasing, definitely go ahead and grab that link in the description. Grab that coupon code that I mentioned, and you'll be off and running now that you have a video to show you the installation.